So you're looking to take your e-commerce brand global. And let's be honest, the massive UK and European markets are probably right at the top of your list. Well, in the next few minutes, we're going to break down the one critical hurdle you have to clear to get there. Let's dive in.
So let me ask you straight up, is your business really ready to unlock a whole new continent of customers? Because the opportunity that's just waiting for you, it's absolutely staggering.
And when I say staggering, I mean 127.4 billion pounds. Yeah, that's the projected value of the UK's online retail market for 2024 alone. This isn't just another market. It is a massive prize for any ambitious seller.
But before you can claim your piece of that prize, there's a crucial hurdle that every single business has to clear. It all comes down to a tiny, three-letter acronym that can literally make or break your expansion plans: VAT. Okay, so let's really talk about the scale of this opportunity. Because once you see just how big this prize is, you'll understand exactly why the rules around it are so serious.
This slide right here really puts it all into perspective. On the one hand, you've got that massive 127.4 billion pound UK market. On the other, that's 33 billion euros. And you know what that is? That's just the VAT money collected from e-commerce sales across the EU in a single year. This shows you two things, loud and clear. One, the sheer volume of sales is incredible. And two, these governments do not mess around when it's time to collect their tax revenue.
So that brings us right to the core question here. We've seen the why, that huge market, but now let's tackle the what. What on earth is this thing called VAT anyway? Simply put, value-added tax, or VAT, is a tax on consumption. When you sell your products to customers in the UK or the EU, handling it isn't optional. Think of it as the price of admission to get into these incredibly lucrative markets.
Now, I know the whole registration process can feel a little intrusive. They ask for a lot of personal and business documents. But here's the good news, and it's a big deal. It's a one-time hurdle. Once you get your VAT number, it's yours for the life of your business. You get through it once, and you are set.
Okay, so that one-time setup is absolutely crucial, because ignoring it, well, that comes with some very real and very painful consequences. The stakes for not being compliant are, no joke, incredibly high.
If you don't get your VAT sorted out, you're not risking a little slap on the wrist. No way. You're risking heavy fines, having your shipments blocked at the border, and delays that will absolutely destroy your customer relationships. You could even get kicked off of major marketplaces like Amazon. The takeaway is simple. This is not something you can just wing.
And this right here is exactly why you need to plan ahead. Just look at these timelines. An application in Spain could take up to 4 months. That's a third of a year in lost sales. The smart strategy is to start with a faster country, like the Netherlands or Poland. You can get registered and start selling there in just a few weeks, which means you're generating revenue while your longer applications for Germany or Spain are still processing. It's all about launching in waves, not waiting for every single door to open at once. And if you're thinking, oh, this is just for the giant corporations, think again. The threshold for EU-wide registration is just 10,000 euros in annual sales to customers across the EU. For any growing e-commerce business, that number comes up way, way faster than you think.
All right, enough about the risks. Let's talk solutions. This isn't meant to scare you off. It's meant to prepare you. So here it is, your straightforward roadmap to getting registered and ready to sell.
The process really boils down to 3 key steps. First, figure out where you need to register. And this is important. It's not just about where you sell to, but also where you store your inventory. If you use a warehouse in Germany, for instance, you need a German VAT number, period. Second, get all your documents together. I'm talking digital copies of your business registration, a passport for the director, proof of business activity. Have all of that ready to go before you start. And third, submit those applications.
And that waiting period we talked about, that does not have to be dead time. It is the perfect opportunity to dial in all your other compliance needs, like making sure your product labels meet UK and EU standards, and locking down your shipping and fulfillment partners.
And finally, let's talk about what to avoid, because knowing what not to do is just as important as having a roadmap. These are the most common mistakes that trip up new sellers in Europe.
Pay close attention to this one. Seriously, this is probably the single most important takeaway of this entire explainer. So many sellers assume that compliance only matters once that first sale comes in. That is a massive and potentially very costly misunderstanding.
And here's why that's a misunderstanding.
Once you are VAT registered, you are required to file regular tax returns. I'll say that again. You must file returns, even if you have zero sales. Tax authorities need an update regardless, and if you fail to provide one, you could get hit with penalties or even estimated tax bills based on what they think you sold.
The other common pitfalls are exactly what you might expect. Simple but costly errors. Things like missing filing deadlines, applying the wrong VAT rate to your products, or just keeping messy records. The good news is, all of these are easily avoidable with just a little bit of diligence and the right support.
So, the bottom line is this. Yes, VAT might sound complicated, and it is a mandatory part of selling in Europe. But with the right strategy and a clear understanding of the process, it absolutely does not have to be a barrier to your global ambitions. Which brings us all the way back to our first question, but with a whole new perspective. Now that you know the stakes, the process, and the potential prize, is your business ready to take the global stage?